It was years before my husband showed me how he makes sorrel. I'm going to share this delicious drink recipe with you today. This Caribbean holiday drink has the most vibrant flavor. So you'll start first with some fresh ginger root. The link in the description box below will have the full recipe details. I like to soak it in some water just to help the skin be a little bit easier to peel. I go ahead and break it apart into small manageable pieces and then use a spoon to remove the skin. So some recipes actually just call for a bit of ginger. I actually use about a pound here. It doesn't end up being too overpowering because the sorrel has such a strong taste on its own. It's important to peel all the skin just like this because leaving it on sometimes has a bitter taste. Next, I add 12 cups of water to a very large pot and then turn the heat on high and allow it to boil. I put all of the peeled ginger into the blender and add 1 cup of water. I basically pulse the ginger in the blender, meaning I turn the blender on and off. I do this repeatedly to break the ginger up into little pieces. I find that this helps the flavor soak and infuse better. I know that I'm done once I see that this is how the ginger looks. I go ahead and cover it and then set it aside for later. So once I check on my water and I see that it started to boil, I go ahead and turn down the heat to medium-low. I don't want the heat to be too high when I add all of my spices. So first I add whole cloves. Then I add whole allspice berries. I put in the cinnamon sticks next. This is the type of sorrel that I use. You can use any brand really. The dried kind is much easier to find, and you can find it at most international grocery stores. So I go ahead and add the entire 12-ounce bag, and I cover the pot and allow it to cook on medium-low for 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I remove the lid and I actually turn off the heat completely. Then I go ahead and add the peel from 1 orange and then 1 tablespoon of raw rice. I go ahead and stir everything together. You can see already that it's starting to take on that beautiful, vibrant color. Next, I'm going to add all the ginger to the pot. Remember, this was ginger that was pulsed with 1 cup of water in the blender. So I add everything in, but I want to be sure to get all of that extra ginger out of the blender and also in the lid. So I go ahead and gradually rinse it out with 2 cups of water. I keep adding everything back until I've used all 2 cups to remove all the residual ginger, even what's inside of the lid there. So if you've been keeping track, this is now a total of 15 cups of water that we've added to this recipe. I stir everything together well. Remember, the heat is turned off. The smell of this drink really is amazing. Sorrel is made from a type of hibiscus petal. I use a lot of sorrel because I like to highlight the tart flavor and then kind of balance it with some sweetness later. So I'm going to cover this and allow it to sit and cool to room temperature. Eventually later, I put it in the refrigerator and allow it to sit for some more time. After you've allowed it to sit for anywhere between 24 to 48 hours, you can take it out and stir. The amount of time that you let it sit just depends on how deep you want the flavors to be. Looking closely, you can see how beautifully vibrant the drink really is. Next, you prepare to strain your sorrel drink. So the pot we used is one of my favorites because it has a spout directly on the pot and then some straining holes directly on the lid to be able to pour the drink easily. So we pour it through a strainer and then you can see that this is all the residual flower petals that are left inside. You can't ignore those because there's so much liquid and flavor left inside. So I go ahead and grab a cheesecloth. I did cut a pretty big piece. And then I add some of the sorrel petals to the cheesecloth with a measuring cup. Then my husband goes ahead and uses some muscle to squeeze out the flower petals. Basically, you can see that there's so much liquid and juice that comes out of it. So you really can't just ignore this in the pot. You want to really try and get all of that liquid out of there because again, that's lots of great flavor. So we dispose of these petals and then go ahead and add some more to basically strain out the rest of the liquid. Before meeting my husband, I never actually attempted to make sorrel. A lot of Caribbean and West African countries do have their own versions, but I never tried to make it because honestly it seemed kind of intimidating and I never knew a person that actually made it. But it was the opposite with him because he grew up with his grandmother regularly making this drink, so it was a part of his culture. What's nice is that as I watch him make it and kind of make some tweaks, I realize that you really can tailor the drink to your preferences. Whenever I buy a bottle of sorrel from different stores, it's too sweet for my preference, so I love that I can tailor it and add as much sugar as I like. So we sweeten it with some brown sugar. Be very careful if it splashes like this anywhere or on your counters. Stop what you're doing immediately and clean it because sorrel actually stains. You know, back then they actually could use it as like a natural pigment dye. So stop everything and clean it up immediately. So basically I mix it around, and you can add as much brown sugar as you want to taste. The brown sugar dissolves much easier than granulated sugar, so that's why I use that, but you can use really anything to sweeten it. If you wanted it very sweet, you could use 2 cups of firmly packed brown sugar, but I tend to prefer it with 1.5 cups of firmly packed brown sugar. So once you've stirred it continuously and allowed all of the brown sugar to completely dissolve, we go ahead and pour it into the glass bottles which we're going to store it in. And just that quickly, you've made sorrel. It's the perfect mix of sweet and tart, and it's best served over ice. Some people do mix their sorrel with some rum or red wine, but we tend to just enjoy it plain, served over ice. It's perfect and refreshing and great for the holiday season.